leading cause of deaths in the U.S. right now is in hospital-related accidents. Okay, the medical errors is the third leading cause of deaths in America. And if you go to the hospital today, and Dr. Jim, you can correct me if I'm wrong, when you go to the hospital, the protocol being recommended by the Centers for Disease Control and other bureaucratic deep state organizations calls for remdesivir and midazolam and
benzodiazepine. They sedate you.
So when you take remdesivir, now remdesivir, folks, if you go to timetofreeamerica.com, I've cited this. You click on the button that says follow the money. Remdesivir is a drug patented by George Soros in China that causes renal failure. So literally, you have George Soros. If you have COVID-19, you go to the hospital. You are enriching George Soros by buying his drug, which causes renal failure. So you have remdesivir and midazolam that actually causes death. So the actual protocols, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Meehan, that's what's causing the death. Am I correct?
You are correct. The fact that remdesivir is still being used after 7 clinical trials, randomized controlled trials, have shown that it has a very high 22% serious adverse event rate. More people have died in a month from remdesivir than have died in 47 years from ivermectin. It's $3,200. It's all cronyism that it even got approved in the first place. But as clinical research has been done on remdesivir, it is shown to not reduce mortality at all, 0%. In fact, the most recent study out of Iowa by Dr. Ohl, OHL, look it up, it shows that it doesn't reduce mortality and it extends the hospital stay. And on top of all of the damage it does to organs, it is a dangerous drug that should no longer be used. Even the World Health Organization has recommended its removal. And yet it's still being prescribed in hospitals today, and they completely ignore safe and effective drugs with a 47-year safety history like ivermectin. In fact, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I've been saying it for a long time, they're going to start fabricating fraudulent data to attack ivermectin. Rolling Stone just came out with an article on ivermectin, and it was, interestingly enough, it was based here in Oklahoma. So supposedly, some doctor in Sallisaw, Oklahoma, went on the record with a news station and said that there are so many overdoses of ivermectin happening in Sallisaw Hospital that they had to divert gunshot wounds. So, some good investigators, some actual journalists, went in and started looking for this information, contacted the hospital. Hospital completely debunked it. Said, nope, we are not seeing patients overdosing on ivermectin. They looked at the Poison Control Center in Oklahoma. Yeah, we've had 12 inquiries. Most of those inquiries were asking how to dose it for humans. The attack from our own FDA on ivermectin. They tweeted recently this junk about ivermectin being a veterinary drug. You're not a horse. Don't use horse paste dewormer. This kind of fraudulent attack on ivermectin is causing damage. People should be sued for that. In fact, India is suing the World Health Organization because Dr. Swaminathan, one of the directors of the World Health Organization, India is suing her for saying, for tweeting out that ivermectin was not a safe therapeutic. We have 113 clinical trials today. We have 32 randomized controlled trials, 69 peer-reviewed trials. We have 4 meta-analyses now that show that ivermectin is one of the most well-studied, safest medications, reduces mortality by 58%. Remember, remdesivir, 0%. Mortality reduced by ivermectin by 58%. When it's used as a preventative, it's 86% effective at preventing an infection, and it reduces severity of illness and duration of illness by 76%. That is an incredibly effective medicine, and that's been shown by a bunch of studies. The fact that any doctor is not using it, that any public health agency is not recommending, in fact, they're recommending against it, proves that we have regulatory capture. Our public health agencies are bought and paid for, and they're serving the interests of the pharmaceutical industry and not the public interest.